So this morning, we're going to talk about God is and I am. And to me, that feels like a really personal and very intimate conversation. So I want to just establish that we all have our own thoughts about who God is. So when we share not holding any opinions of what anybody else should think. That's easy to do, right? And I'm going to say that, as we often say, whatever you hear today, take what fits. Take what sounds okay to you and just leave the rest under your seat. Maybe for another day or for someone else. And if you're joining us virtually, you're going to have an opportunity to share. So I'm going to need some help today. My technology is not working. It shows that we're not streaming. So whoever has their phone on and can see that we're streaming, I'm going to need your help. And then I'm going to need somebody to write down some things for me. So who would take a pencil and paper and just thank you. Okay. And Deb, you'll read from the live chat, right? Okay, thank you. So God is I am. We see it every Sunday. We speak the first and second unity principle about God and us and our relationship to one another. And in her book, The 5 Principles, Reverend Ellen Davenport suggests that we take time periodically in our life to really think about what that concept of God means to us. I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, I had this idea of God that was taught to me by my Sunday school teacher and enthusiastically reinforced by my parents. And it was a very different concept of God that I had in my 20s. Then I got a little rebellious and gave up the idea of God. Then I worked my way back to create an adult idea of God. And now at this age, I have even a different idea of God. So that concept changes and morphs and evolves as we change and evolve. Mine sure has, and I'm assuming that yours has too. So what is God for you today? What is that idea of God mean to you? And if you're visiting from home, enter it in the chat in a couple of words because we're going to use it a little bit later. So what is God for you? Source? Source of? The source. The source. That gives clarity. Would you write these things down, please, Keller? Who else? What is God to you? The ground of our being. That sounds big, doesn't it? When I think of the ground that I'm standing on, man, I'm standing on a little itty bitty space, but the ground is all of the earth, the ground of our being. Thank you. What else? What is God to you? What's that idea of God? In a few words. Anything in the chat? Collective spirit. Beautiful.
Power of the universe.
Power of the universe. Go ahead. Peace. Has a vibe to it, doesn't it? As soon as you say it, I can feel that. Yes. What else is God to you? Isness. Oh, man, you've read Eric Butterworth, haven't you? Eric Butterworth says it's the isness of the allness, which is a favorite. What else? What is God to you? Love. Yes. Anything? Don't give up. Keep writing in the chat if you like. You know, those are beautiful sharings. And as you can see, for each and every one of us, God is a little bit something different, right? We all have a different idea of what God is. For me, God is an essence and energy that moves in and as everything, every being that I can easily see that essence in. Like here this morning, it's easy to see your God stuff shining. We all gathered here. It's easy to see that. And God is also the essence and energy that's moving in them. All the other people that I can't easily see it. I have to look really hard, long, and deep to see it. Or I have to put on those God goggles to be able to see it. Those people who challenge me. The essence of the divine is just as vibrant in them as in me and all of you. For me, God is that energy that forms and creates the universe. All of us, all the animals that fly the sky, that swim the seas, that walk and creep on the earth, the grasses that grow, the trees that bear shade, the flowers and the plants, the rivers and the oceans, the mountains and the valleys. God is the energy of those things. For me, God is that which breathes life into all and presses into existence all. God feels like the source of all love and the cause of all life, that energy. For me, when I begin to think of words to describe God, I immediately fall short. I begin to limit by my own thinking that which is limitless, that which has no beginning or end, the infinite. And for me, in those moments of deep, reverent silence, when I'm in meditation and contemplating this concept of God, no matter how far I expand and let my imagination go, I don't even come close to touching the edges of that vibration that is God. And we talked this morning in our Sunday school class, you know, God is a word that has some charge to it for some people because of religious injuries and wounds and, you know, some teachings that we have heard that are very different than what we teach in unity, you know, our inherent goodness. And so think of other words that might mean something to you. Infinite just takes me away. It's more than I can possibly imagine. And then using Eric Butterworth, who so beautifully says, God is the isness of the allness. Grasp that. And with all these vague words and notions describing that which defies description, we come up with our concept of what God is. And then we identify us. God is, I am. And we develop a relationship from that understanding. So I am not the name that was bestowed upon me by my parents, Karen Lee Romestan, so many years ago. Born with strawberry blonde hair and green eyes, with a spirit of curiosity, with a side of mischief. I am not any of those things. That's what shows up. But I am not this form. I'm here in this body, but that is not who I am. I'm not the work that I do as a minister, a mother, a grandmother, a friend, a sister, a cousin, an aunt, a friend, or a companion. I am not those things either. These are aspects of me in this realm, in this time, in human form on this planet. Those are the aspects of me. I am not the things that you see or think you know that I am. So what am I? I am that essence of the infinite pressed into existence. I am the life of the divine breathed into this moment. I am the good that God is poured out into the world. I am the substance of the universe molded into this life. I am the eternal spirit experiencing this human form today. And I am the energy of the universe vibrating at the frequency of life. All that God is, I am. Now, there was a time that I could not say those words. All that God is, I am. When I heard those words for the first time from somebody else's mouth, it resonated with my soul as true. But I couldn't speak them because back here was my mother's voice. Karen Romestan, who do you think you are? All that God is, I am. But it felt so arrogant. It felt so boastful. It felt like blasphemy. But as I sit with those words and take them in and allow them to integrate into my consciousness and into my being, it feels so reverent. It feels to be so true that I am humbled by the words, all that God is, I am. When I feel the vibration of those words, it takes my breath away to think that, to know that at some level. Genesis chapter 1 says, let us make human in our own image, in our image and likeness. Let us make human. All that God is, I am. It feels so important to have a really spent time thoroughly considering and thinking of what we believe God to be so that we can know who we are. If I can't capture, at least for this time in my life, some notion of the concept of God, the infinite, universal spirit, whatever you call that which moves in everything, then I'm relegated to being Karen Romestan. And that is okay in this time, this space, this realm, but there's so much more to it. You know, I'm relegated to be that person who lives in this time, who is bound by this human form and who's confined by my human ego. And we're so much more than that because we are 100% spirit as well as 100% human. I'm limited to the working of my free will, which is sure to cause suffering at some point. I am tethered to my opinions and my ways of being in the world, forgetting that I am spiritual. I feel small, I question my worthiness, and I feel very limited. Yet when I remember that I am having this human experience, but I am first and foremost a spiritual being made of that spiritual substance, I live in that field of infinite. I move in the sea of a limited substance. And when I acknowledge this, and when I humbly claim my true nature, my divine nature, I live knowing that all that God is, I am. Take a breath. Allow those words to just filter over you. Allow them to sink into you. And say them with me, please. God is, I am. All that God is, I am. How does it feel when you think and speak those words? Now, as I said, if you were like me, there was a period of time that I couldn't really say those words with any conviction, with any sense of belief in them. So if that feels like a lot to you today, how about all that God is, I have the potential to be? And ease into that greater knowing that all that God is, you are. Because we are all that God is made manifest. Remember in John 14, Jesus tells us, these things that I do, so you shall do also. These things and even greater. Sometimes I've heard the analogy that we are like a wave in the ocean. And each wave in the ocean, each drop of water in the ocean has all the same qualities as the massiveness of the ocean. So we are that. There's nothing diluted. There's nothing missing in that wave or in that drop of water. There is nothing diluted, and there is nothing missing from you. All that God is, I am. So does that feel true for you? Does that feel like you can feel the vibration of that? God is, I am. Can you take that into every cell of your being, every organ, every fiber of you, and feel the vibration of that? Can you take that in and allow that to transform any thoughts of insufficiency, unworthiness? God is, I am. And can you live your years and days and moments with the deep and rich knowing that God is and you are? 1 John tells us that God is love. And 1 Corinthians 13 tells us all the things that love is. Love is patient and kind. God is love. Scripture also says that, 3 words, God is love. God is love, and I am loving, and you are loving. God is the kindness that calls me to be kind. God is the abundance that allows me to live plentiful. God is the benevolence that inspires me to be generous. God is the compassion that invites me to be compassionate. God is the justice that equips me with discernment to treat and see every being, every single being, all people, all beings with dignity, respect, and fairness. God is. I am. So pause for a moment and think back to the way you answered that first question, what is God for you? And if you called something out, great. And if you just held the thoughts, can you equate yourself with what you identified as God? I heard God is peace. Do you identify yourself as peace? God is peace. I am peace. God is the source. You are the source. God is the earth. What? Remind me what you said, Pat. Yes. God is the ground of your being. Are you the ground of your own being? God is love. Are you love? Yes, you are. So sit with those qualities that you thought God is and identify them as yourself. So our first two unity principles, speak them with me. The first one is there is one presence and one power active in the universe and in my life. God the good, omnipotence. God is. And our second unity principle is our essence is of God. Therefore, we are inherently good. I am. God is. I am. So let's close with the words of 1 Corinthians 16:14. Let's speak it together. Let all you do be done with love. Namaste.